his phone to call him death starting.
Oh, yeah.
So that
Okay.
easier.
Thanks.
I know.
Okay, it looks like we've got Mr. Is this Mr. Natzel?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you, officer.
You're welcome.
All right, so this is file 215299 FY, People versus John Paul Natzel, and Mr. Johnson is here on the defendant's behalf, Mr. Hamlin for the people. This is the date for a preliminary examination, and Mr. Johnson, have you spoken with your client about the purpose of today's hearing, and what does he wish to do?
I have, Your Honor. At this point in time, we do have a plea to enter, but we would be waiving our preliminary examination as well as a circuit court arraignment in order to do so.
Okay, well, then let's see. What is the plea offer?
Your Honor, this would be a global resolution involving 5 cases. I believe he would be pleading guilty in just 21-5218 FT1. And in that case, he would be pleading to a 5-year smurfing charge and an operating intoxicated, as well as an added count 6 domestic violence. And in exchange, cases 21-5093 SM1, 21-4893 SM1.
Hey, hang on. Can you start over with this list of dismissed cases?
Yes. So the first
Okay.
21-4893 SM.
Mm-hmm.
The second is 21-5093 SM.
Okay.
The third is 21-5200 SM. And the fourth is 21-5299 FY.
All right. So, Mr. Hamlin, is that a correct statement of the plea agreement?
It is, Your Honor. And the case that we're actually here for today is one of those being dismissed. And so the domestic violence from this file is the one that's being added to 5218, sir. But the
okay.
the smurfing and the OWI originated on 5218.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Natzel, it's been stated that you wish to waive your hearing today and enter a plea to the felony charge and the misdemeanors that have been stated. And is that what you want to do, is waive your right to a hearing based upon that plea offer being made?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Is there anything else that's been offered to you this morning that hasn't been stated on the record?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. And then the examination is waived. Defendant is bound over on the charge in file 5218. on the charge of, Mr. Hamlin, help me out, smurfing, what is the technical name for that?
A possession or purchasing of ephedrine or pseudoephedrine for the purposes of making methamphetamine, Your Honor. It's a 5-year maximum felony.
All right, and let's see, what is the circuit court appearance date on that for sentencing?
She gave me pretrial dates. That's not what you're asking. You're asking for a
Yeah.
circuit court.
And circuit court sentencing, so we'd need to go out about a month.
And this applies to the 18 case, so it's an even case. I'm going to tell you that it's going to be August 16th.
Will that work for you, Mr. Johnson?
That should work, yes.
All right, that sounds about the right amount of time for them to prepare a report. So, okay, so let's go on to the circuit court arraignment. Mr. Johnson, have you advised the defendant of the maximum penalty and nature of the charges in file 5218?
I have, Your Honor. At this time, we waive a formal reading and enter a not guilty plea for purposes of getting to our guilty plea. In that matter, we have gone over the charges, maximum penalties, and the advice of rights form.
All right. So then we'll move on to the plea itself. Now, I'm going to need a second to bring up the other file here. All right, so I'm looking at file 5218 now, and let's see, I don't see the smurfing charge. What I see is just a flat out possession of methamphetamine, but so that would be dismissed and there'd be an added count of smurfing. Is that right, Mr. Hamlin?
That is correct, sir. And then OWI is one of the charged offenses.
All right. So,
sorry, we didn't try to make it as complicated as possible, but I think it's looking like we did.
okay. All right. So, Mr. Natzel, the plea offer is, I understand. Actually, let's go ahead and swear you in at this point. So if you could please raise your right hand. Do Do you swear or affirm that the statements you're about to make regarding this plea offer are true to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you can put your hand down. Now, as I understand it, the original charges in the case 5218 would be dismissed except for count 4, which is operating while intoxicated. And there would be an added count, we'll call it 6 of
Actually, it's going to be 7, sir.
well, there's an added 6 and 7 now. So the 6 would be the domestic violence from file 5299 FY. And 7 would be possession of, let's see, substances used to create methamphetamine, also known as smurfing, a maximum 5-year felony. Is that a correct statement of the plea agreement, Mr. And all of the other cases that you're currently charged in, 4893, 5093, and 5200 would be dismissed. Is that your understanding of the plea agreement, Mr. Hamlin?
It is, Your Honor. And from the stocking, the PAC code for smurfing is 333.1776 6C 1D.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, and Mr. Johnson, is that also your understanding of the plea agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and most importantly, Mr. Natzel, is that your understanding of the plea agreement as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you been offered anything else to get you to plead guilty that has not been disclosed on the record today?
No, Your Honor.
Have you been threatened, forced, or coerced in any way to get you to plead guilty?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Hamlin, are you aware of any other inducements that have been made to this defendant that have not been disclosed on the record that would encourage him to plead guilty? Or are you aware of any threats, force, or coercion used against him?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson?
No, Your Honor.
All right, let's see. Now, I need to go over, you understand, sir, that by pleading guilty, you will have a conviction for procuring materials to produce methamphetamine, better known as smurfing, and that carries a maximum penalty of up to 5 years in prison. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
In addition, you'll also have convictions for operating while intoxicated, which carries a maximum penalty of up to 93 days in jail, and domestic violence, which carries a maximum penalty of 93 days as well.
Yes, Your Honor, I understand.
Okay. I need to go over your trial rights with you and make sure you understand those before I'm able to accept a plea, so please listen carefully. You have the right to be presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and you have a right to a jury trial to make that determination. Do you understand those rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
You also have a right to have witnesses against you appear at trial, to cross-examine those witnesses and present your own evidence and witnesses, and the court will order those witnesses to appear if necessary. Do you understand that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
In addition, you have the right to testify at a trial, or if you choose, to remain silent, and that silence could not be used against you in any way. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And finally, by pleading guilty, you give up the right to appeal that you would have if you went to trial, and any appeal of your conviction and sentence would be by leave, not by right, meaning that it would be up to the appeals court whether to even hear any appeal of your conviction or sentence. Do you understand that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you understand that by pleading guilty, you'll be giving up all those trial rights that you would have otherwise.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's what you want to do, is waive those rights.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, so turning to the complaint in this case then, is it true that on or about May 5th, you were stopped by a police officer, it looks like for speeding, and there was a search of your car conducted, and there was some methamphetamine located in the car. Is that all true?
Yes.
All right. The location of the stop, it says, was in Garfield Township and Grand Traverse County, specifically Woodmere Avenue and Carter Street. Does that sound right?
Yes, sir.
And how did you know that it was methamphetamine in the car?
Because I had used it earlier in the day, Your Honor.
All right. You knew from past experience what the effects of methamphetamine are?
Yes.
And it acted the same way that you're used to experiencing when you use methamphetamine?
Yes.
Okay. Was there also a test completed, Mr. Hamlin or Mr. Johnson?
Sorry, Your Honor, I'm just looking in the reports.
Yes, Your Honor. There was a true narc test, and it did indicate that it was methamphetamine.
Okay. So then, Mr. Hamlin, are you satisfied that there's a sufficient base for the plea to the lesser charge of possession of substances to create methamphetamine, given that the greater offense of possession of methamphetamine has been established?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson, same question.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, then. So, Mr. Natzel, to the charge of possession of materials to create methamphetamine as a lesser charge of possession of methamphetamine, how do you plead?
Guilty.
All right, I'll accept your plea. Find it voluntary, accurate, and understanding. Now I'm going to go to the operate while intoxicated charge. It says here on the same date and location when you were pulled over that it appeared that you had were under the influence of methamphetamine. Do you agree that was the case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you agree that because of using methamphetamine, your ability to operate a motor vehicle was substantially affected?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, then, Mr. Hamlin, are you satisfied again that there's a sufficient basis for the plea?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Johnson?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And you were, just to be clear, you were the driver of the car when you got pulled over, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So then to the charge of operate while intoxicated as a 93-day misdemeanor, how do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
All right, I'll accept your plea on that as well. And let's go on to the domestic violence. And this would be in the domestic violence charge in 5299. So give me just a second to flip back to that one.
Your Honor, it might be easier for me to voir dire on this one.
Okay, I'll take you up on that. Go ahead.
Mr. Natzel, on or about May 26th of 2021, were you with a woman named Megan Martoff?
Mark's off, yes.
Okay. And you had a dating relationship with her, is that correct?
Yes, she is my girlfriend.
And you guys were walking up a hill over kind of on South Airport Avenue, is that correct?
Yes.
And that's in Grand Traverse County?
Yes.
And you picked her up and kind of threw her over your shoulder to carry her up the hill, is that correct?
I carried her like marriage style, baby style, how you, whichever way you want to describe it.
Okay. And would you agree that she could have found that contact offensive?
Yes.
And you're not claiming that you picked her up in self-defense or anything like that?
No.
Your Honor, I believe that is a sufficient factual basis.
Mr. Hamlin, are you satisfied there's a sufficient factual basis for the plea?
Yes, sir.
All right. And Mr. Natzel, you agree she didn't want to be picked up at the time like that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, then to the charge of domestic violence as a 93-day misdemeanor. How do you plead?
Guilty, Your Honor.
All right, I'll accept that plea as well. It's obvious that it is voluntary and accurate in understanding. So what we'll do is this is, again, bound over to the circuit court for sentencing. So you'll appear next in the circuit court, and they'll want to get a report done by the Department of Corrections, and I'm sure a substance use assessment as well. And
Judge Cooney, I gave you the wrong date. I gave you an interim date. The Grand Traverse County date is August 13th.
I think that'll still work probably. DOC will let the court know if it's not okay, but is the 13th going to work for you, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, it won't, Your Honor, actually, now that I think of it.
Oh.
So if it would be possible to do it on a date,
Okay.
The August 27th is the next date.
that would be fine.
Okay, so August 27th now, and I think you're scratching that date out then?
Yes.
So, okay. All right, so that'll be the next time you're in court. And let's see, is there anything else we need to take up today, Mr. Johnson?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Hamlin?
Your Honor, just a paperwork question, if I could, for Ms. Stocking. So 5218 is bound over. Is 5299 dismissed via dispo today?
Yes, I've got the dismissal of 4 cases on this dispo and the bind over on 5218.
Okay, so
Is that all of the cases?
yeah, Mike, I was just gonna, do I need to do nollies on the 3 misdemeanor files or no?
No, I think that this order signed by the judge is sufficient.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll simply dismiss as part of the plea offer here, obviously without prejudice. So if anything goes haywire in the next 30 days or so, those cases could be reinstated, okay?
Very good. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yep. All right, we're all set then. Good luck to, we're all set. If you could let the correction staff know that you're.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
And I still don't see Mr. Connolly
I
here.
think he's the
Mr. Connolly?
officer.
Oh, is he?
That's usually, that's how he popped up earlier.
Sorry,
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, you can have a seat to wait for you.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, just wait for you. Your attorney will be there in a moment.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Are you Mr. Neal?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So this is file 215434FY, People versus Sylvester Edward Neal. Mr. Connolly is here on behalf of Mr. Neal and Mr. Hamlin for the people. This is the date set for preliminary examination. And Mr. Connolly, have you discussed the case with your client, and what does he wish to do today?
I have, Your Honor. He wishes to accept the plea offer that was made in this matter, which is to plead to 1 count of domestic violence first offense, dismiss the balance.
All right, so Mr. Hamlin, is that a correct statement of the plea agreement?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, most importantly, Mr. Neal, is that your understanding of the plea agreement as well? You're going to be pleading guilty to a single count of domestic violence. First, the original felony charge would be dismissed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Has anything else been promised to you to get you to plead guilty?
No, Your Honor.
Have you been threatened, forced, or coerced in any way to get you to plead guilty?
No, Your Honor.
Let's see, has Mr. Connolly answered all your questions to your satisfaction?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you will have a conviction for domestic violence, first offense, and that carries a maximum penalty of up to 93 days in jail?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Let's see. I need to speak with Mr. Hamlin and Mr. Connolly in a breakout room or somehow, so I'm not quite sure how to make that happen.
I think you can put yourself and the two of them in a breakout room.
Should I just step out, Your Honor?
No, you're fine. So I'm going to go in a breakout room with the attorneys. Are you sure that